made it. They said it couldn't be done, but we made it, Canada. We made it to Friday, a little bit later than expected, but we did it. And it's Friday. And, you know, your boss was breathing down your neck all week, and tornadoes have been making landfall. And you know what? That didn't stop you from making it to the weekend. I'm excited because I'm your host, Alex Melki, and we have a very fun, exciting show for you tonight. You're going to indulge. You're going to have some fun. You're going to enjoy the weekend, beginning with an episode of Anchorman Canada. You know what? What are we going to talk about tonight? A whole bunch of stuff. And I actually learned something today. Doing the research, putting together some of the stories for this show that I pulled from the front pages of Narcity and from the internet and the grove of Canadian gossip columns. No, it's not true, not gossip columns, but from facts and truths. And I'm going to tell you all about what we're going to talk about tonight. A new law in Ontario. Another new law. I feel like there's a new law every day. A new law in Ontario that wants you to stop working so hard. You guys are working too damn hard, and they want you to stop working on the weekends. We're going to talk about that. And a brutal, honest truth about buying a house in Canada today. What's it like? Who's buying it? What does it mean for the future? We're going to find out. Before we do that, I'm going to take this off. You know what, guys? We're making this a little controversial here. Item by item, everything's coming off. It's for a good cause. Your entertainment. I'm kidding. It's just so hot in here. First story of the evening. Speaking of heat, I don't know if you're feeling it, but climate change. Climate change is a thing it's kind of a hot button topic in Canada and the rest of the world. Do you see what I did there, by the way? Hot button topic. Climate change is a hot button topic with a lot of politicians and a lot of people because everyone has their own opinion. Some people say climate change is real. Just look at the weather. Other people say, you know what? I don't buy the science. That's not my jam. And it's very divisive. Now, many Canadians don't believe in climate change or the data that it's backed up by, but one person who does is Canada's Minister of Environment and Climate Change, McKenna. Obviously, it's in her job title, so she should. Now, I'm just going to paint you a picture, just to give you an idea of who this woman is before we dive into a scandal. Not even a scandal, just an issue that this woman has had to deal with. Now, this woman, she got a law degree from McGill. She studied international business relations from the University of Toronto. She got a master's in international relations from the London School of Economics. So this woman is smart. She's not just like a dum-dum off the street. She's smart, all right? She has a head on her shoulders. And she's passionate about a couple things. Climate change is one thing. Another thing that she's passionate about is gender equality. Seems like a no-brainer, right? Well, it seems like she put out a tweet where she combined the two areas that she loves so much, gender equality, climate change, and she put out this tweet that got people's feathers riled up. Can we make that just a teeny bit bigger? Just squeeze it up. Whoa, whoa, oh my God. So what she's talking about here in this tweet that got her so much flack is that is that she's saying that climate change affects women more than it does men. And this got people kind of riled up for several reasons. Now, I'm gonna pull this up now. And another part before we move on, another thing she's saying is that because it affects women more than men, women should be at the table discussing climate change, right? So let's pull up some of the responses that this woman has gotten to this tweet. Good grief, you're not making climate change a gender issue? Because everything has to be a gender issue. Let's see another one. Since we typically have long hair, this is sarcasm if you didn't read it. Since women have typically long hair, when it rains, their hair gets heavier and it weighs their necks down, and so they have to deal with so much more stress in their neck. Come on, next one. Let's get another one. Ugh, it's true. You try going out with menopause when it's super hot outside. Now, this woman off Reddit, clearly she's having some fun with it because, you know, it's an interesting topic. Now, okay, I feel like at first glance, this could seem like a very charged statement maybe trying to play a victim, trying to play, attacked, trying to act attacked. Now, I looked at the facts. I pulled up some information. And you know what? She's not lying. Climate change affects women more than it does men. So according to the UN, 80% of the people that are displaced, that are moved around due to climate change, are women. 80%. And so much of the world, of the world's women, are either mothers or they're the ones in charge of taking care of the food and the water for their village or for the people, right? And so what does this mean? If climate change is affecting, let's say, a lake dries up, they have to walk further to get to the lake. This affects them in a different way more than it would a man, for example. Now, this is a specific example I'm giving you here, but according to the UN, to the United Nations, 80% of the people affected by climate change are women. Now, not just women in rural areas. Another thing is that on a global level, women in general are often going to be on the poor scale compared to men when we're looking at equality. They're less socioeconomically powerful. And what that means is that when climate change, when natural disaster strikes, they're the ones that are hit the hardest. Now, environmental scientist Diana Liverman says that the decision-making is largely done by men. And that for much of this, maybe 20-30% of the people involved in any of the decision-making involving climate change and the effects and how to prevent it and how to take care of it, most of it is done by men. And they're not looking at all the things that can affect women's lives during a situation like this. Now, it looks like the statement that she made, Catherine, is not stupid at all right? It's founded, there's data there, there's something there, right? She hasn't responded to any of the things that people have asked. People are literally just saying, hey, can you give me an example? She hasn't responded to it. So you know what? I'm not going to tell her how to do her job, but this could have been handled better. If nothing else, it could have been a moment to educate people. Because I didn't know about this before I pulled up this story today. And I think it's important to understand that, you know what? Yes, maybe it sounds a little extreme. It sounds out there. But if you look at some of the data, this is something that we really need to take a little bit more seriously. Because guys, there's always Google. You can do a quick Google search and you can find out. You don't have to be, pardon my English, an asshole in the comments section. Just educate yourselves a little bit. And that's what I hope that I can bring to you tonight. Let's move on to the second story. And this one is kind of relevant because it's Friday. It's the weekend. And what do you like to do on the weekend? Well, you know what? Actually, can you also let me know what you like to do on the weekend in the comments? Because I'm curious. Canada, what do you do on the weekends? But no, the story tonight is that the weekend used to be your own. It used to be that if you got through Monday to Friday, you get to Saturday, and it's yours. You can relax. You can hang out with friends, work on the house, hang out with family, whatever it is. Get caught up on your social life. That's happening less and less between smartphones and tablets and laptops and smartwatches. As technology gets smarter, people's lives are getting more compartmentalized, and you're not being given the freedom to live a life away from your office because you can carry your office everywhere you go. So why am I talking about this? Statistics Canada announced that Canadians are working slightly fewer hours during the week, but that's being carried over to the weekend heavily. Whether it's just shooting out an email or whatever, the process it takes for your brain to stop what you're doing, to open up the phone, read, and put your mindset into that frame of mind to actually do your job like you would during the week is such a jarring thing that it's having an effect on mental health. And this is interesting because, two facts that are very, very interesting. Back in 2013, Right Management, now this is a firm that consults companies on how to deal with their employees, how to treat their employees so there's no burnouts, so they live a healthy life mentally, physically for the office. Now, they found out, this is back in 2013, that 70% of Canadians have not used the full extent of their vacation time. They're just not using it all. You can argue that, okay, well, maybe it's because that's just part of the culture. You got to work hard, and you know what? There's a saying: better too much work than not enough work, right? Better too busy than not busy enough. And that's become such a reality for so many different people that the work is not stopping to the point where they almost feel guilty. Another interesting relation that they're making, this Right Management, they're saying that they believe that this mentality that we have with vacation time and not taking it as much, and just the work ethic that we have is linked back to the 2008 recession. Now, their concept here, that what they're shooting out into the universe, is that people became so paranoid and so scared to take some work time off that they were going to lose their job if they did. That if they didn't put in 120%, somebody else would and they would lose their job. And that trickled over through into a new world that was taken over by social media, by new apps, and by new devices that we could carry around with us all the time. And it just ramped up, and it just became exponentially worse and worse and worse, which is a very interesting concept. I'd never heard about this before. Now, the reason I'm talking about all this, we're talking about work, we're talking about jobs, and what Canadians do throughout the week that they define as work. What is the frame of mind here, right? A new law is being looked at by the Liberal government, And this is a law that they want to change the way people work. And this is based on a law that was enacted in France a couple years ago, 2 years ago, where people are just not going to work as much on the weekends and after work. And the idea here is that employees can't punish or penalize their employees for not answering the phone, let's say after work or on the weekends. Once you're out, you get to live your own life on the side. The goal of this is to reduce overtime and reduce employee burnouts, because it was actually happening. It was affecting their mental health. Labor unions, on one hand, are saying this is an amazing win for Canadians because they're working too hard and it's actually causing a lot of burnouts. Employer groups are saying, hey, wait a second, this doesn't really jive with a lot of industries. There's industries that are on call. A lot of people need to answer the phone and just fly at a moment's notice. Other jobs are not 9 to 5. There's overnight jobs. There's different kinds of jobs, right? And this is happening more and more as people are working maybe 2, 3, 4 jobs instead of just one. It's affecting the way that they work. They can't just work a full week. They're working little bits throughout, right? And that works into another concept that's been talked about a lot lately, more so in the last year, I would say, the 4-day work week. Now, the Angus Institute, they polled a bunch of Canadians, and what this institute is they try to be as unbiased as possible to present information clearly and objectively. And the information that they found, they polled 68% of the Canadians that they polled said they would rather do 4-day, 10-hour work weeks than 5-day, 8-hour work weeks. So they would be working fewer hours, but they'd be putting in more effort throughout those hours is the concept here. And what would that look like? Because it's cool. It's one thing to say, hey, this is what they're doing. What would something like this look like? Back in March, a company out of New Zealand, Perpetual is the name of the company, and basically what they do is they help with wills and estates before and after people die, dealing with that aspect of life. Now what they did is they took the 40-hour work week and they dropped it down to 32 hours. And what they found was that productivity skyrocketed. And not only that, but the well-being of their employees went up. They're spending more time with their families, they're eating better, they're going to the gym, they're sleeping better. They're getting caught up on the part of life that they've actually given up over the past decade. And they're getting that back, and it's helping with their mental health. And the point of all this that I'm trying to put out there is that there's different ways of doing this. There's different ways of structuring the employment industry in Canada. And it's cool to see Ontario looking at just the beginning of this, because I don't know that we're going to get to a 4-day work week tomorrow. Even though parts of Europe, they're already toying with this, they're already messing around with this. France, I know Spain as well, they have a different setup there. But it's interesting to see how this is evolving. And I want to ask you, what do you think? Do you think that this should get regulated because we're kind of not treating people's mental health and we're not taking it seriously the way people are living their lives with work? Or do you think that, you know what, technology is here, it's a tool, and you got to use it. And if you don't use it to the extent that someone else will, they're going to take your job. And you got to work as hard or harder, even if it means working 80, 90, 100 hours in micro bites, right, throughout the week, over the weekend. Do you think that's fair? Or do you think people should start putting in a barrier and saying, hey, no, my time is my time? Let me know in the comments, because this is a huge part of our reality. Now, this is a topic that I relate to, because as a millennial, and I hate that word, as a millennial, the concept of buying a house isn't really in my frame of mind, you know, for a couple of reasons, but that's what we're going to talk about right now. The brutally honest truth about buying a house in Canada today. Now, have you ever been at a dinner party and somebody says, hey, this is the worst year ever for buying a house. This is the worst time ever. And you go, yeah, totally. But you know that it's probably not. It's just something people say. Well, right now is the worst time in Canada's history within the last 30 years to buy a house. Okay? For the last 30 years, it's been getting worse and worse. And right now, it's not at its best. It's at its worst. A new report that's been put out by the RBC economics team, they said it's the worst year in 30 years. And that 2 years ago, reports said the exact same thing. So it's only gotten exponentially worse. What does that mean? What are we looking at here? It's specifically bad in Toronto and Vancouver, which is a no-brainer for a lot of people. But it's actually getting worse and worse throughout Canada. I think the only place that it's not getting worse, it's actually getting a little bit better, is St. John's, Newfoundland. So maybe that's the spot to go to. Less people are buying detached houses because they were so expensive to begin with, and that's causing the price of condos to go up. Apartments are going up, especially in city centers. And once that's happening, fewer people are now able to buy those. They're kind of looking back at the houses. It's a weird situation. It's creating a weird climate. Home sales are at a 7-year low. People aren't looking to shift things up a little bit because they just can't. Now, I spoke about millennials, but that's just one aspect of the whole story, all right? Why is this happening? One aspect is high interest rates. Okay, Vancouver households, this is shocking. It's one thing to say shocking, but this is shocking. Vancouver households with an average income, okay? They're making the average income. They're spending 88% of their income on maintaining the house, on keeping everything going, the lights on, the roof over the head. 88% is insane. And they're saying that it's the worst that it's ever been. It's not as bad in other parts of Canada. It's about 50, 60, sometimes 70%. 88 is an extreme case in Vancouver. But still, more than half or 3/4 of your paycheck is going towards just your house. It's bad. And this brings up the question of, do you rent or do you buy? This has been a question that's been asked for a very long time. And people have different arguments for this. So if you're buying, well, you're building equity, right? You're putting money into your house. It builds value over time and you get something out of it. If you're renting, a lot of people see that as you're throwing away money. But the other argument on that side is you're spending less money on your rent, you're spending less money on maintaining your apartment, and you can use that money to invest. So there's arguments on both sides. But if you look at the statistics, which I did, 50% of 30-something Canadians today own. It's about half. Versus 55% people the same age in 1981. So it's going down, not by a lot. 5%, you could argue it's a huge number. It's not a big number in the big scheme of things, especially when you look at how many millennials are complaining about not being able to buy houses. So it's not as bad as it seems in that sense. But what does it mean for the future? Where's it going to go? How is the job market and how is the housing market going to shift over the course of the next 10, 20 years? I looked at that as well. Now, a big factor that's going to affect future housing markets is a changing in demographics. So as millennials get older, they're going to be the main... Can we pull up? I think there was a chart there. Yeah. So by 20... Can you make that bigger? I can't see.
You can't see?
I can't see. 2021? Yeah, by 2021. The number of millennials is going up in terms of who is buying houses. Now, as baby boomers get older, they're retiring, they're moving out. Maybe they're moving into old folks' homes. Maybe they're being taken care of their kids. But there's fewer baby boomers that are going to be buying new houses. The people that are going to be buying houses now are millennials and younger. And what happens with something like that is if they don't have the money to buy it, even though 84% of millennials were optimistic about it, if they don't have the ability to buy it, it's going to shift the entire environment for the housing in Canada. And that's going to trickle down to many different industries. Now, that's the biggest fear for realtors and mortgage specialists. They're worried that millennials are just not going to be able to hold on to their money and that this is going to become a much bigger issue over the course of the next 20 years. Optimism is one thing. Looking at the future and how it's going to affect us is a big thing. And I don't have the information to tell you what's going to happen beyond that, but it's an interesting concept to think about. The fact that it's not just about buying your house and owning your house and doing that. Millennials or anyone buying or not buying a house can actually affect the entire country. Food for thought. Now that was a little heavy for a Friday. Let's have some fun now.
Oh yeah.
Let's have some fun. Do you remember what day it is?
It's Friday.
It's Friday. Now we're right around the corner from October, as you know, if you've looked at a calendar recently, and that means Halloween is on the way. And I'm so excited because I love dressing up. I make my costume every year from scratch. Maybe we'll do a little something on the show here. Netflix knows that you love Halloween, and they're putting together a little treat for you. They're including a whole bunch of Halloween movies on their page. Now, I threw together, just to give you a quick list of some of the movies that are going to be on there, we have Scary Movie 1 to Scary Movie 5. So you have the ability to see the degradation of this franchise. First one was amazing. Second one was great. Third one was okay. I don't even know that there was a fourth one. The fifth one, you know what? I'll have to check it out because... after that, you have Scream. I Scream, You Scream, they have all the Screams that are going to be hitting Netflix. You can binge them all together. You can see young Drew Barrymore. You can see the movies that have been parodied and the origins of Ghostface. You have Halloween. There's a sequel coming out next week, and it looks amazing. I don't know if you've seen the trailers. I should have pulled that up. If you have a chance, watch the trailer for that movie. It looks dope, and this is going to be a direct sequel to the original Halloween movie, which Netflix put up for you. You got to check it out. It's a classic. Wreck is maybe one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. And I feel like that's a bold statement to make, and I was going to show you a clip, but it's Friday. I don't want to ruin your day. But check it out if you have a chance. Check the trailer out. It's scary. Scary. That woman is not having a good time. That's not like a, hey, it's Friday. No, that's a, I'm about to die face. Next up, you have Cabin in the Woods.
That's freaky as well.
It's scary. What is it? What's going on in the background? I don't know. I don't know.
There's freaky stuff there.
Show me the next one.
Next one?
Yes. Cabin in the Woods. This is such, if you like horror movies, this is a fantastic one because they sort of give you like it's like a meta version of a horror movie where they take all the horror tropes and they spin it around on itself. That's all I'm going to say because it's got some twists. You got to watch this movie. And you know what? It's Friday. I got to show you a clip. I don't know if you remember Scary Movie. Can we play a clip from Scary Movie? Because this is such a funny movie. It actually was. It was good. It's from 2000, 18 years old, but I swear it's hilarious. Can we?
That's not it! And whatever you do, don't be
So good.
afraid to
If you didn't laugh
rise
at that,
to the occasion.
you don't have a funny bone in your body. How dare you not laugh at that? Okay. God, I love my water. I love my water so much. Before we go, because it is Friday, I have an idea. I feel like we should mix things up a little bit. I have a treat for you. You know what? We need to shake things up. This isn't gonna work. Guys, give me a second. I'm gonna fix this up for you. Give me 1 second here. Let's see. What can I do? Woo! There we go. What a show. What a week, Canada. It's been a week. I know you're noticing that the set's changed a little bit, and this is just in regards to a little segment I'm about to throw your way. I ask you for comments at the end of each of the episodes and throughout the week, and I compiled them. I compiled some of the best ones that I think you might be interested into hearing some of my responses to. And this is a segment I like to call Comment Roundup. Comment Roundup. Comment Roundup. It's Comment Roundup. Now, on Comment Roundup, here are some of the best comments that I have been able to put together over the last 7 days, 7 episodes, and I'm just gonna get to them so you can understand that I want a back and forth here. I promise you a back and forth. This is the rapport we're about to have. Jane says, Coming Georgia, winters aren't too shabby. You know what? Canada has some pretty bad winters. I might actually join you in Coming Georgia. I really hope that's a city and not something else. Divine Femme, that's a dope name, by the way. Divine Femme says, Drake dickmatized her. Dickmatized her? I love that. I don't know that I've ever been dickmatized by anyone, specifically Drake. I feel like it's something that I want to experience at least once in my life. I feel like that's something that I need. Or maybe I don't, I'm not sure. I feel like I need a definition before I dive into committing to something like that. Samuel Giberson says, make this a podcast instead. Samuel, come on, man, don't you want to see my face? I just want to express myself through the art of facial repositioning. Alexei Rebrov, come on, it's funny. Thank you for thinking I'm funny. At least one other person besides my parents think I'm funny, so that really actually means a lot to me, thank you. Kyle Bennett, this guy's an idiot. It goes to a good cause. Oh, he's talking about the Tim Hortons cookies that had smiley faces that didn't look like smiley faces. And I bet that they have to make them so fast because they're selling them out so quick. Take your shit video bashing, a good cause somewhere else. You know what, Kyle? I fully agree. I was bashing him pretty hard. Brian Webb and Die Vine is back again for another comment. Bought 6 today, still look tasty. People are still buying them. They don't care that there's no face on them, and that's fine, and the money's going to a good cause. But can it at least look like a face? Just a thought. Luis Araujo, I believe the J is supposed to be silent, maybe that's just me. Buddy, you shouldn't point the finger at anyone for being overdramatic Seriously. I can't control the tone of my voice. It just does this thing on its own. It just happens, Luis. I'm out. Good luck. Baby, come back. Allison Clements, it's nice to see the students stand up for their rights to education. Okay, so this is in regards to the Doug Ford? Yeah. Oh, this is in regards to the Doug Ford story where he's trying to meddle in Ontario's sex ed curriculum. A current, up-to-date sex curriculum is so important. If they aren't taught about their body, that their sexual feelings are okay and natural, and loving who you love is okay, then we are taking a huge step back in time. It's so true, and like that's sort of my opinion as well. I believe that if you're gonna teach or not teach people how to love each other, you're actually doing the country a disservice rather than a service. Priscilla Desmoulins and Leah Ann, they want more, please. They want more, please, and I want more of you. So you keep commenting. This is what's gonna keep me off the streets. Luis is back. Too much random blah blah. Come on, Luis. Comedy writer needed. Do you want a job? Matthew, your hand gestures make me dizzy. LOL. Matthew, that's my phone. This is how I talk, Matthew. This is how I talk. But I hope you can join me for more episodes, and maybe eventually you'll just be able to reduce the dizziness just by getting used to the show. And I wanna have you in my life, Matthew. It's not weird. Don't make it weird. Philip, LCBO, where to get stoned and drunk all in one place. And it's true. October 17th. You don't have to go to multiple places. You don't have to call up a guy, hey, can I get some weed? I have to, no. You just go to one place, everything's there. I love it. Curtis, if you're eating 200 donuts in a sitting, you've got bigger problems than a weed killer. Curtis, if you're not eating 200 Timbits on a Friday night after you let loose a little bit, can we get something going on here? Yeah, you're not doing it right. And you know what? Yes, there are traces of it, but you'd have to eat like thousands of them, right? For now, I'm still gonna eat them. They're just too damn good. Karen Holmes, is anyone else's feed freezing? Karen, we live in Canada. The climate here is just very frigid, but we're gonna try to make it better because you matter. Chris Duran, make Survivor in the Northwest Territories. Let's see who can survive. Yo, I fully agree, Chris. Let's get the Americans up there. Let's see if they can actually handle the real shit. And that's it, we're done. We're done with all the comments, and that has been Comment Roundup. Comment Roundup. Comment Roundup, Comment Roundup, it's Comment Roundup. I love it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a lovely week, and I can't wait to see you Monday. And we have a special show coming up. It's the elections in Quebec. We're gonna be doing a live 3-hour show from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. I hope you can join me because it's gonna be hell. We're gonna have people coming over. We're gonna be talking about who and what and where and what it means for you, Canada, not just Quebec, but what it means for the whole damn country. I love you. Have a good weekend. Cheers.